Well, looks like Susan Collins is disappointed again. She and other Republicans are discovering that their utter loyalty and utter obedience to Donald Trump will do absolutely nothing to stop him from stealing money out of their states, even out of FEMA emergency management and the military, to build the precious, the border wall that Mexico was supposed to pay for. This time, the man who sold America has decreed that his administration will take more than $3.5 billion, with a B, dollars out of military projects, including money that was supposed to pay for power plants, schools and military bases, environmental cleanups, and more. A total of 127 projects are being put on hold so Trump can use that money to make American taxpayers, that means you, pay for his wall. You're welcome. Many of these military projects are in states and districts represented by Republicans, though very few of them have the guts to speak up for their own constituents, since that would mean challenging the president. They don't dare do that. Case in point, Arizona freshman Senator Martha McSally. She downplayed the effect in her state, first claiming that Trump was only taking a mere $30,000 from Arizona, before later conceding the actual amount he's taking from her constituents is $30 million. Joining me now, MSNBC contributor Malcolm Nance, also back with me, Elie Mystal and Wiley. Oh, Malcolm.
$1 million.
$1 million. She needs a bald cat to try to stroke at the time that she's saying, it's only $30 million. Let's talk about this for a moment.
Yes.
One of the projects that's going away is Fort Campbell Middle School, because Donald Trump needs the precious.
Right.
The Pentagon's decision to divert $62.6 million from the construction of Fort Campbell's Middle School means that 552 students whose parents are serving this country in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade will continue to cram themselves 30 to a classroom in some cases at the base's aging Mahaffey Middle School. Teachers at Mahaffey will continue to use mobile carts to store their books, lesson plans, and homework assignments because there is not enough classroom space. And since the cafeteria at Mahaffey is not big enough to seat everyone at lunchtime, some students will continue to eat in the library. Is that worth it for a military family? Let me actually really quickly quote you a teacher at this school. This is from the New York Times. Most of our students don't know what it's like to live in a world without war. When you don't have to worry about mom and dad being killed, said Jane Loggins, a Fort Campbell teacher, who's the director of the Federal Education Association statewide region, the teachers union for the Defense Department's educational system in the U.S. and Guam. She says the one big benefit of this school is that we try to support all those emotional needs. They don't get their money.
Let me tell you, I'm going to speak as someone who was literally born on a military base, raised my entire life in military housing and military schools, and then went on to raise a family who also lived in military housing. Donald Trump seems to really hate military families, and I mean that with all seriousness. He thinks that there's some sort of adjunct and they can be shuffled off to private schools. That quote that you made about these children on military installations whose fathers and mothers are war fighters, who could at any time in training or combat be killed, maimed, or injured. The military school system is their only family, all right? They're not military dependents. These people are part of the armed forces. You know, and the funny thing is, when people will come up and say to me, thank you for your service, I always say this, thank my mom, my wife, and my kids. They're the ones who are back here on these bases supporting the war fighter. And they think that $30 million from a school is worthless. Shuffle them off to some public school. Okay? That is where the compact between the enlistment oath of the armed forces and Donald Trump stealing their money, which was allocated by Congress, that compact is broken. They will follow orders. They will take that money. But people are going to look sideways at Donald Trump for the Scrooge that he is, or the Henry Potter that he's turning their military bases into.
It's sort of a reverse Robin Hood, isn't it? Because he's going to take their money from these children's schools, these kids whose parents are serving, as you said, whose parents could at any moment be killed in combat in some cases, these kids that would have to deal with that, take their money and give it to probably a private contractor that's probably a friend.
A private contractor, he is insisting, gets a sole source contract for building this wall,
Correct.
Which is illegal and criminal.
The corruption is so all open, but I think it's not fair to limit the focus on Donald Trump. Yes. Because these children and their parents have a senator. His name is Mitch McConnell. Some might call him Moscow Mitch. He doesn't like that, but that's okay. He doesn't have to like everything. You don't get to like everything. Mitch McConnell whose home state of Kentucky will be hit by the funding shuffle to the tune of nearly $63 million, recently talked to a reporter regarding the issue and says he is committed to protecting the funding for the Fort Campbell Middle School project. How's he going to do that?
Like, this is not just Donald Trump, this is the Republican Party. And I think that the only good thing that will come out of the Trump administration is that I will no longer have to hear for the rest of my natural life that Republicans care about the military, because they don't. And it's always been a lie. They've never cared. And now this is the proof that the Republican Party, not the Democrats, not Chuck Schumer, it's the Republican Party that does not care about the military. They think they're toys. They think they're pawns to be moved around a global chessboard. So now I don't ever, and I hope the media is listening, because I'm not going to hear it again. I'm never going to hear it again. Yeah. I'm never going to have to hear again this lie that Republicans care, because they don't, and this is the proof.
You know, one of the things that is so frustrating sometimes in our business is that you have this constant question, I wonder if the Democrats are moving too far to the left. I wonder if the Democrats are doing enough to get to the middle. I wonder if the Democrats are doing enough. You know, are they moving too far to the left? Let's talk about the Republicans for a moment. Are they moving too far to the right when this set of senators, we're going to put them up here. Let's name some more names. They supported Donald Trump's emergency declaration. This is the vehicle that he is using to steal the money out of these states, including a lot of red states with a lot of military families in them, to take their money. Let's just be clear. They're taking the money away from these families, from these school districts, and from these military families to give it to a private contractor of his choice. It's probably a friend, likely a friend of a senator, somebody he likes, to give them the money so he can build the Precious, which you can't build because there's a river in the way of the wall. But here they are. Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, John Cornyn of Texas, Cory Gardner, for now, of Colorado, until he's defeated, likely he's in really tough shape, Lindsey Graham, his best friend from South Carolina, Cindy Hyde-Smith of Mississippi, James Imhoff of Oklahoma, Mitch McConnell of Kentucky, Martha McSally of Arizona, Dan Sullivan of Arkansas, and Tom Tillis of North Carolina all are up for re-election this year, and they're losing their money to the Precious.
So, two things. One, that we should remember is Donald Trump apparently also promised pardons to people who broke the law, to help him get a wall built that he himself admitted to lawmakers was not the best way to address.
Can I just add one more thing to what you said? He promised them to, if they broke the law, in doing what? Taking the land. He used the phrase, take the land. Take people's land.
Meaning violate people's constitutional rights to due process.
Correct.
So I just wanted to say that because I think it's important to understand this is also about, of course, White House said, oh, he was just joking. We saw that kind of joking happening in context of, conversations around lots of things with Donald Trump. But the point is, he knows that this wall is not actually going to be very effective. If you remember, the way this came into his campaign was as a tactic, not as a real policy proposal.
As a mnemonic device.
It was just a device for the campaign. It was never serious policy. Republicans didn't even want or support the wall because they recognize that. So this is beyond crass. This is even beyond corrupt, because it's also about potentially inciting criminality. And we shouldn't forget that. But part of what I think is happening politically is that Republicans are saying, we've got a stopgap measure we're going to have to vote on October. We're going to push to backfill the projects politically, and then blame the Democrats if they don't help these projects get backfilled. That's what
they're going to try to do later. Let me come to you last, because this is such a military issue. The Pentagon is claiming the projects are either delayed or deferred, but the reality is Congress must again approve them before they can move forward. That means it's more accurate to say the projects are canceled until they're reapproved again. This is the Pentagon backfilling for Trump. We've seen so many agencies debase themselves. Generals, people in the military, people at the NOAA. Everyone's willing to debase themselves to cover this man. Why is the military willing, not just on this, but on him landing planes near his resort and making everyone pay to stay at his resorts around the world? Why are they willing to do this? The military is supposed to be the one uncorruptible institution. Why are they doing it? Well, not always, but they're not. Why are they doing it?
The uniformed people, the uniformed personnel of the armed forces generally are apolitical. And what you find is, and we're probably going to find that maybe it was a squadron commander doing this on his own, or that it was from civilian authorities in the Department of the Secretary of the Air Force office and the Secretary of Defense office trying to curry favor with the White House. Maybe there's a memo that we don't know about between the White House and the Secretary of Defense saying, hey, if you're up there in Scotland, stay at these
But ultimately,
facilities.
do you believe, having served in this institution, that ultimately the military will not allow itself to be drawn in to this absolutely open corruption?
The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the Joint Uniformed Service Officers won't. And they will send the IGs down to find out who the individuals are that ordered this or who allowed it. They'll do that. But at the Secretary of Defense civilian level, I don't trust them at all.
This is depressing. This is one of the most depressing eras, parts of this already depressing era. Malcolm Nance, Elie Mystal, Wiley, thank you all very much. Coming up.